Andrew, good to see you. I know it's been a busy morning already for you, but I mentioned the allegation from that NSICOP report back in June, talking about witting participants among parliamentarians, the Parliamentary Watchdog Group, essentially asking Justice Hogue to look into that allegation. What did she have to say there? Not an original part of her terms of reference, but added on, but obviously of great concern. What do we hear from Justice Hogue regarding that matter?
Right, Michael, right near the very start of this executive summary, which alone is 120 pages, that shows you the breadth of this report. But she does talk about this NSICOP report, and she does say that although the phenomenon, it does remain marginal and largely ineffective, that there's no cause for widespread alarms. She says she has not seen any evidence of traitors in Parliament plotting with foreign states to act against Canada. She goes on to say that although there are a few cases involving things like attempts to curry favor, again, she says that it remains marginal. She's not aware of any federal legislation or policies that have been enacted or repealed on account of foreign interference. She says that while some of these states' attempts are troubling, that there is some concerning conduct by parliamentarians, there is no cause for widespread alarm, and she says that it should not be overblown. She goes into some more detail later on about the NSICOP report, and she tells us that that report has no names of individual politicians and that her mandate as part of this commission does not involve passing judgment on the culpability of an elected official, even if there were individual names involved. And she goes on to say again that there are legitimate concerns about some of the conduct being reported in that NSICOP report. But of note, she says this: the report's wording has caused consternation, but it is unwarranted in some respects. The situation, Michael, is not as clear-cut or extreme as the fears have warranted.
So not as clear-cut as warranted concerns, but again, marginal. Obviously, a huge concern for Canadians, because when that NSICOP report, of that one line really took over the discussion, although we heard competing testimony regarding that conclusion from the Prime Minister among them, who was pushing back on this idea of traitors within Parliament. So Justice Hogue saying that there are concerns, but marginal, very important for Canadians. Let's move on to the original terms of mandate, though, because really this was also convened to look into how the federal government responded to foreign interference. What does Justice Hogue have to say about that, Andrew?
Well, she says foreign interference and the threat of foreign interference has taken its toll on Canada. She does then say that Canada has been resilient and that our democratic institutions have held up well, but she does have criticism for how the federal government has responded. She says the government has sometimes taken too long to act, and that coordination between the various players in the government has not always been optimal. She says the way in which information is passed throughout the federal government has often not been effective in terms of the information that needs to get to policy makers, in terms of getting to elected officials, that it hasn't flowed properly, that information has not always been adequately tracked or properly appreciated by the people who received it, and that inside the federal government there is some confusion about roles and accountability when it comes to the fight against foreign interference. Now, she does say that the government has made some strides over the past 2 years implementing new measures, and that the government is now prioritizing the fight against foreign interference. She says it must continue, but again, and these are the words that Justice Hogue gives herself. So far, its efforts in regards of informing the public about foreign interference have been piecemeal and underwhelming.